Hey everyone, and welcome to another SEO tutorial. This one is about ranking. And in the SEO, search engine optimization world, it's very important to check ranking. What many people have said in the past, right? We cannot improve on what we do not measure. And that's a big part of what this is, measuring results. Whether you, as a business owner, or whether you're an SEO company, or whether you're a web developer, this is important to understand and to know. So to give you a basic idea, right now, of course, I've got this split screen, and I'll just give you an example. And here on the left, we see that I went ahead and did a search for libraries in Maryland. And inside of that, what we're going to be talking about is, here's the map that comes up. Underneath that are these three things, and you'll hear the phrase called pack 3. And what this is the Google business listings. You can also think of this as Google My Business, right? Because the back end, what the owner sees, the business owner, is the Google My Business, and really what the public is seeing is these three, the Google business listings. All right, and if I scroll down, we'll actually see where the organic search results, right? And this would be first link, number 1, number 2, number 3. You get it all the way down through till we go to the next page, and then we could actually see, 11, 12, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So that's just to kind of get you led in. These are Google business listings, and these down here are the organic search engine ranking. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about, how these move, whether it goes from, say, number 3 up to number 1. Same thing, organic. Maybe you've got a link that's number 5 here, and it comes up to whatever, 3 or number 1. So that's what we're going to be talking about. All right, so let me swatch over here to the right side. Okay, so here we are in a full screen of the actual numbers, right? This is going to be a little dry and technical, but it's really important to understand how this stuff works. So this is an example that we've built, and the term right now we have is service, but you could replace this with anything, right? Maybe this is plumber, electrician, or maybe it's an actual service like car repair. Right, so service could be anything that's important to you. And then in this case, we went ahead and put in town names. So these are local town names inside of Maryland, Central Maryland. And then these are zip codes. Right. So we'll go over just a few of these and what they mean. So to give you an idea, this was done on 10/18 of 2019. And here's what the rank was at that time. Right, so it was number 19. So it was on the second page of results, just 1 from the bottom, so number 19, right? And then on the 25th, we have a problem, right? Because it actually went up. And that's why in our case, we'll go ahead and put 3 question marks to say which page was coming up, right? And we could get this from the search results, but for us, the 3 question marks says that we've got a problem here, and usually we also put this in red, but so that's a problem. We need to find out, why did this go up between these two, right? So that's just one example of how it works. Here's another common thing. All right, same thing. You say we were doing car repair in Bowie, because we're a car repair shop that's close enough to Bowie, and we want to see how we rank inside of Bowie. And from the 18th to the 25th, right, 7 days, we went from 5 to number 4, and the page that's coming up in the search results, right, in that organic search result, is the Bowie page, meaning we built a specific page on the website that was just for, say, car repair in Bowie. All right, so that's how that type of thing works. So here's one it's also interesting that you have to think of from an SEO standpoint, is when we say a given service, like let's say plumber in Columbia. Now, OOS is just a key for us, and what that means is out of state, right? And the reason that we put that in there is because Columbia, there's a bunch of different Columbias in the world, right? There's Columbia, South Carolina, Columbia, Ohio. There's all these different ones. We care about the one in Maryland, and that's why we put this little caveat in. And you should understand that from a technical standpoint, right? Take a look at the real world results on the page and see, is this what a user would agree to see, right? If I see something that was from Columbia, South Carolina, Columbia, Ohio, Columbia, Texas, well, then I really wouldn't do this search. I would refine it, which is what the next line is, where we put in the state, right? So service, Columbia, and then the state. Let's back up one. So right here is where we see this not in 100, meaning when we did the search, that the website did not come up in the first 100 links, okay, for this date. Now, this date, okay, we see that after a change to the website, that we actually got it to go from not in the 100 to come all the way up to 47th. So it's on page 4, but we're still far from really being important, really being relevant. No one's going to that 4th page, so we know we still have a lot of work to do there. And what's another important thing to do is to see which page of the website is showing up in those results. We want to make sure that we're building a page correctly so that Google chooses that page for the search results for the user to see. So that's a good thing. It's good to track that page. And I'll show you an example in just a minute where it backfires and it doesn't work correctly. There's more work still needs to be done. So, right, next one. We talked about out of state. So the next search that we would do logically is add the state. You might also instead add the zip code. But in this case, we add the state. And back on the 18th, it was 51. Now we've gained. We've gained almost half the way there. We're to 24. And it's now seeing the right page. Now I can tell you, although we don't have it in here, is that the problem with this one was Google was not seeing the Columbia page. Google was seeing the main website, so the home page of the website. And that's the next example that we'll put in here. And in this case, you'll notice that we've added an S, right? And I just put that in since we kind of sanitized this for just public results. But there will be a difference between when someone searches for service and services. So for example, let's say it's plumber and plumbers. You're actually going to see a significant difference in the ranking for those same things just by adding the S, which makes sense, right? If I'm looking for a plumber, or if I'm looking for a list of plumbers, plural, it'll be different. So if you're an SEO company, you definitely need to know that. If you're a business owner, you want to know it as well, because it's important to see where do I rank between these two. Now, keyword research, and that's a whole different thing, and I'll put a link, and probably at the end of this one I'll put a next video to watch if you want to see it, our video on keywords. But that's why this is so important. If the general public searches more frequently for the plural or the singular, right, then we know which one we want to use for keywords. And that's a whole other technical discussion, but if you're just starting in the SEO, that should at least make sense to you. Adding the plural to see how it changes and what change you might want to make on the website to get it to change and rank. And also here we see we have a problem. It's not a huge change, but we went from the 99th rank to 101. And that's a loss of 1. And part of the problem is because when it looks for the plural, it's finding the home page, right? And from a technical standpoint, that probably means that this service in plural is used several times on the home page or throughout the website, but not on the direct web page of Columbia, right? So we now know that a logical thing to do if we want this to increase in rank is to take this plural and add the plural to the Columbia page, so that next time we do the ranking, we can see that Google picks up, oh, now we see the plural on the Columbia page. Google will actually select the Columbia page as search results instead of the home page, and it'll actually jump up quite considerably. All right, so that's a great technique for you. So here's another one in that same type of thing, not only putting an S on it, but putting the ing, right? There's a difference between plumbers and plumbing, or anything, landscapers and landscaping, right? So you might want to check in the same town, but by adding the ing to the end. And we did this, and we see that we've had a gain here. We know that on that Columbia page, we better go use some of the ing on that page to bring it up so that we get better search results for that. All right, so here's another one that comes up with ranking so that we can track and improve. It's in a different town, even though Pearl may seem like a strange town name. That's actually a town in Maryland. And in this, we'll see the phrase GMB, and that's what we talked about for Google My Business, right below the map, those three. So it was in the 3rd position, and we've moved it up to the 1st position. Right, so that's a great improvement, and there's a whole load of techniques as to how to get a Google My Business, the local business, to move. If you'd like, you can always come over to btfoom.com and you can try to find us on the contact page and ask any request that you like. But that's what that is and how it moves. And for us, we put a space between these two, right? Google My Business was third, space. The organic was number one. And same thing here, moved. Google My Business changed up to number one, and the organic is number one. So that's not a problem. So we didn't even track that any further. We know we've got that where we want it. Same type of thing here. Here's another town for Savage, Maryland. And it went from 6, and this is interesting, it went to 2 links. So before we ranked as 1 organic link at 6, but now when we search, we see that the number 7 and the number 10 came up. And the reason for that is because there were a lot of images added. So it started to move, and we made changes from other pages. So it bumped the Savage page actually up. It bumped the home page down and the Savage page up. So those kind of things can happen when you make a lot of changes inside of a site and different pages. You'll see that Google has a little bit of time of settling in which page it's going to move. Okay. Same thing here. We see services in Severn. Google My Business went from 1 to 3 to 1 to 2, but it did find the Severn page. That's what we wanted, and that's why we moved from 3 to 2. All right, same kind of thing. If we go to Severna Park, we see we stayed the same and it's still on the home page. What might we want to do? What action might we want to take? And that is, we need to, if we're going to get this to get onto the onto the first page, to quit ranking on second page, we probably need to change some things on the Severna Park page, or even create a Severna Park page if it doesn't exist for this given service, so that Google stops seeing the home page and starts to see the one specific page we want. That would be an action that we want to do to change this ranking. All right, same thing for St. Margaret's, seeing the home page, although it really ranks well, right? If we're talking about spending money wisely for the business owner, we probably don't want to put much time into this. Why? Well, because we're already ranking so high for it, right? Let's put our money into these other problem pages. Now, let's go into a little bit about the given service and putting the zip code after it. Now, because of I want to keep this already long tutorial as short as possible, we could actually swap this order. We could put the zip code first and then put the service name after. So that's a great thing to do. It's just for the length of this video, we want to keep it short. All right, in this case, right, we check that service in the zip code, and we see that it went from 12th to 4th, and it's now picking up the parole page. All right, so that change in parole was really important. Not only that, that's one of the reasons why the parole page here is doing so well. It sees that actual parole page, and it's also doing well inside of that zip code. So there's a lot of logic in that can help you inside of zip codes, right? It depends on your area of the country. If you have a lot of different towns inside of the same zip code, that's one thing. Or if a town is so large that it has multiple zip codes. So you have to think logically as well as just the technical from the SEO standpoint. Here's another one, service in 21108 zip code went from 67 and we jumped all the way to 4th, merely because we started to make the changes to the Millersville page that was needed to get the zip code to come up as well, which is exactly what we wanted to happen. So that huge gain in only a week is possible when you make those right changes. And some of this is going to be proprietary stuff inside of a BTFOOM member. So I'm not trying to be harsh, but this is the free video version, not the members video version. So we don't really share exactly what was done when we make these huge jumps. Again, here we have another one. We see that the problem, right, for this zip code, it was not even in the top 100 links, not the first 10 pages. And then we actually got it to come on, right, but it's still seeing that home page. So if we really want that to jump, we need to find a page that's in the 21144 zip code, and we need to beef that up along with some other techniques. Another one here, we show that service, again with the S afterword, so that it actually sees the plural. Those are important as well to test for those, especially if that's a high ranking keyword. And to give you an idea, this one went from 5 to 1 and stayed at 2 to 2. Now, why did I put this one in there? Well, because we have two different zip codes, 20763 and 21046, but they're both inside of the same town. So that's one of those cases where you have to be careful to keep the ranking up for both of these two zip codes inside of the same page. And there are some techniques for that, but it's something from a ranking standpoint that you probably need to track, both as a business owner and as an SEO company or a web developer. All right, so I hope this is helpful. It shows you some of the just high level ranking and maybe some of the thought pattern for how to help your ranking and how to have that gain in SEO and how we actually feed back to a business. You can see some of these will help to explain when we have more than one page, when there are images on the page, and when we have page column that correlates to right here. All right, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or requests, you can always leave it in the comments below. But the best way to actually get a hold of us is to come over to BTFOOM.com and catch us on the contact page. Thanks, and I hope this helps.